What if everything you thought you knew about becoming a better version of yourself was actually working against you? Most people approach self-improvement the same way they approach a buffet. They pile their plate high with productivity hacks, morning routines, cold shower challenges, and journaling prompts. And then they wonder why they feel bloated and exhausted and no closer to the life they actually want. Today, we're going to flip that entire model on its head, because the truth about personal transformation is stranger, more counterintuitive, and honestly more fascinating than anything you've read in a best-selling book. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see yourself and your potential in a completely different way. Let's start with something that scientists discovered that genuinely shocked the research community. For decades, psychologists believed that willpower was the engine of personal change. If you wanted to lose weight, build wealth, become disciplined, or develop confidence, the conventional wisdom was simple. Try harder, want it more. Summon greater reserves of mental strength. This model felt intuitive, it felt motivating, and it was almost entirely wrong. Research from Roy Baumeister and his team introduced a concept that would shake the foundations of self-help culture. It was called ego depletion. The idea was that willpower operates like a muscle that gets tired. Use it too much in the morning, and by evening you're making decisions you later regret. You power through a difficult work meeting, resist the donuts in the break room, endure a frustrating commute, and then collapse on the couch, ordering takeout and doom scrolling for 3 hours. Sound familiar? The problem was never your character. It was your system. But here's where things get even more interesting. More recent research has actually challenged and complicated the ego depletion model. Some studies suggest that the depletion effect is partially driven by belief. In other words, if you believe that using willpower drains you, it does. Participants who didn't hold that belief showed significantly less depletion in follow-up experiments. This isn't just a quirky psychological footnote. This is a profound clue about how human transformation actually works. Your beliefs about your own capacity for change aren't just background noise. They're actively shaping the ceiling of what you can achieve. Carol Dweck's famous research on fixed versus growth mindsets demonstrated this across thousands of subjects. People who believed their abilities were static struggled significantly more than those who believed their abilities could expand. And the fascinating part is that this isn't about positive thinking or motivational poster territory. The brain actually responds differently based on how you frame your relationship to growth. Neural pathways that support learning and adaptation become more or less active depending on what your inner narrative is saying. Now let's talk about habits, because this is where the science gets genuinely beautiful. Charles Duhigg popularized the habit loop, that elegant cycle of cue, routine, and reward that governs so much of human behavior. But what the popular narrative often misses is the role of identity in habit formation. James Clear extended this framework in important ways by arguing that the most powerful level of change isn't outcome-based or process-based, but identity-based. The question isn't whether you exercise regularly. The question is whether you see yourself as someone who takes care of their body. The question isn't whether you write consistently. The question is whether you've claimed the identity of a writer. This matters enormously because identity-based habits are self-reinforcing in a way that goal-based habits aren't. When a goal is achieved, the motivation evaporates. When an identity is built, every small, consistent action becomes evidence that confirms and strengthens who you are. This is the compound effect playing out at the deepest psychological level. Small actions, repeated with intention, don't just produce results. They produce a fundamentally different version of you. Speaking of which, I want to take a quick moment because this channel exists to bring you exactly this kind of deep, research-backed, genuinely useful insight into how human beings work and how you can work better. So if you're finding this valuable, please subscribe, because we publish content like this regularly, and the next video could be the one that genuinely changes something for you. Now, let's get into something that most productivity content completely avoids: the neuroscience of deep work and why the modern world is essentially engineered to prevent you from doing it. Cal Newport brought this concept into mainstream conversation but the neuroscience beneath it is worth exploring. Deep work refers to cognitively demanding tasks performed in a state of focused, distraction-free concentration. And the research shows that this kind of work doesn't just produce more output, it actually produces qualitatively superior output in ways that are measurable and significant. Here's why. When you engage in sustained focused attention, your brain enters a state that some researchers associate with the flow state concept originally developed by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. In this state, your prefrontal cortex, the region associated with higher-order thinking and problem-solving, operates with remarkable efficiency. The default mode network, which is associated with mind-wandering and self-referential thought, quiets down. The result is a quality of thinking that simply can't be replicated in a fractured, notification-saturated environment. The problem is that the average knowledge worker in 2026 checks their phone approximately once every few minutes. Social media platforms, messaging apps, and email systems are all designed by teams of behavioral scientists whose entire professional purpose is to hijack your attention. They're very good at their jobs. And unless you have an equally sophisticated system pushing back, your cognitive bandwidth is being quietly siphoned away every single day. This is why fragmented advice never works. Reading one book about deep work, and another about morning routines, and another about meditation creates a patchwork of techniques that compete with each other for your limited time and attention. What actually works is something more coherent, more complete. A system where each element reinforces the others, which brings me to something I want to share with you that I think is genuinely worth your attention. If everything we've been discussing today resonates with you, if you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things and still not getting traction, the reason is almost certainly what we've been talking about. Not a lack of effort, but a lack of a complete, integrated approach. The self-mastery system was built with exactly this problem in mind. It's not a single course or a quick-fix guide. It's a comprehensive toolkit that addresses mindset, productivity, habits, and purpose all together, because those things aren't separate challenges. They're interconnected dimensions of the same transformation. With 30 guides and over 210 interactive elements, it's designed to give you a real, cohesive path forward, taking you from wherever you are right now to where you actually want to be. From self-doubt to genuine, unshakable confidence. From scattered multitasking to focused, meaningful achievement. From a life of busyness to a life of actual intention and fulfillment. And right now, it's available at a special launch price. So if this sounds like what you've been missing, check the description below to learn more. Now, let's go deeper into purpose, because this is the dimension that most productivity systems underestimate. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps and went on to develop logotherapy, made an observation that's never stopped being relevant. He found that people could endure almost any suffering if they had a strong enough sense of meaning. And conversely, people who had every material comfort but lacked a sense of purpose were often the most psychologically fragile. His work suggested that meaning isn't something that happens to you. It's something you construct through choices, through commitments, through the intentional alignment of your daily actions with something larger than immediate gratification. Modern research has extended and validated this. Studies connecting sense of purpose to health outcomes, longevity, resilience, and cognitive function are now numerous enough to be taken very seriously. People who report a strong sense of purpose show lower cortisol levels, better immune function, and higher rates of recovery from illness. Purpose isn't a luxury, it's a biological variable. And here's the counterintuitive finding that ties everything together. Purpose isn't usually discovered through introspection alone. It's usually discovered through action, through trying things, building skills, connecting with communities, and paying attention to what consistently energizes you versus what consistently depletes you. The self-aware person who knows how to reflect on their experience and extract meaningful patterns from it has an enormous advantage here, which is exactly why building those reflective capacities isn't soft or optional. It's a strategic priority. Let's bring it all home with the concept that unifies everything we've covered today. The most powerful thing you can understand about personal transformation is that it's systemic, not symptomatic. Treating the symptoms means chasing the next productivity hack or motivational hit. Treating the system means understanding how your beliefs, your environment, your identity, your habits, and your sense of purpose all interact and reinforce each other. When you address the system, small changes cascade into large ones. When you treat symptoms, you're on a treadmill. The research from neuroscience, psychology, and behavioral science all points in the same direction. You're not a fixed entity waiting to be unlocked by the right trick. You're a dynamic, adaptable system capable of genuine transformation when approached with the right framework. The question is never whether change is possible. The question is whether you have the right map. Now, before you go, I want to make sure you click on the video showing on your screen right now. It's about the psychology of people who know how to fix everything. Those people in your life who always seem to have a solution, who stay calm under pressure and figure things out while everyone else freezes. You need to watch it, because understanding how their minds actually work will give you a framework for developing that same capability in yourself. It's one of the most practically useful things you can learn. Click now, and I'll see you there.